Hello, welcome to this week's Staff Room Short. 5 minutes, 2 questions, all around the idea of listening. In the Gospels, Jesus uses a brilliant parable to help us think about how we listen. Certainly how we listen to God, but maybe how we listen to each other. It's the parable of the sower. He talks about a sower that sows his seed. Some of it falls on rocky ground, some of it falls on the path, some of it falls in fertile ground. And the stuff that falls in fertile ground grows, of course, and brings life. And that's really how it can be with us. God will speak to us sometimes, Scripture will speak to us sometimes, and sometimes it will fall on rocky ground and not really take root or be embedded in what we're about. Sometimes we'll just forget about it altogether and it will just disappear. But sometimes the things that people say to us can take root and can really grow and help shape and change who we are and what we feel and what we think. So this week we're going to think about how can we listen better and who is it we need to be listening to. In terms of how do we listen better, well, I think that's something that all of us can find ways to make improvements. One is often giving time to people, and that's hard because we're all busy and we're all pressured. How could we give extra time to people this week? How can we make sure that we're creating that fertile ground so that what people say to us makes a difference? I wonder if it's worth thinking about something you remember someone saying to you over the last week. Someone said something to you that's really stuck with you. Why did that stick with you? And other things you've been told have forgotten. That next question, who do we need to listen to? Well, if you think about how Jesus used to work, he often was criticised by the Pharisees. They were kind of like the elite at the time, because he often hung out with people who weren't considered very holy. He'd be talking to tax collectors or prostitutes or the kind of people that society had said, you're not welcome. He'd be in a leper colony. He'd be in those places where people were in need, because he knew that actually to listen to them, he had to go to them. So who are the people in our schools that need us to listen to them? Who are the people we should be listening more to? Because again, if we want that kind of sense of wisdom, particularly if we're in a leadership role, unless we really listen to what's happening, we can't hear the needs of the people we're there to serve. Listening might sound like a really obvious thing to do, but again, in that spirit of synodality, and there's a video about that at the moment, we are being called to think about not just how we dialogue, but how we hear and how we listen. Not just to what each other is saying, but what God's saying, and maybe what God is saying through other people. This week, try and take time to listen. This week, think about how we listen, how we can listen better, and just as importantly, who is it that we need to be listening to? We'll see you soon.